Mike with 30A. I have the honor and privilege of being here today with Mary Morgan Holotik. I have dubbed her the highest 30A fan on the planet Earth, but that's because she is one of fewer than 550 women to ever ascend the pinnacle of the highest point on the planet Earth, Mount Everest.
Yes, it was an amazing experience. It still doesn't even seem real 3 months later that I was up there at the altitude of 737.
It's unbelievable now, but this is nothing new to you. You've actually climbed other peaks. So there's the 7 or something. What's the deal with that?
So I did Kilimanjaro. That's the highest peak in Africa. And then I've done Aconcagua, which is the largest mountain outside the Himalayas at 23,000 feet. And so I've got 4 more left.
And so how many people do all 7? I mean, is there do they kind of keep records of that sort of thing?
There's got to be a record, but I have no idea what it is.
Well, I know if there's fewer than 550 women who have climbed Everest, then it's a small crowd. It's a small crowd. And so how did you get started, kind of what literally piqued your interest in terms of climbing summits across the earth?
I started climbing in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and climbing is the only thing I've ever done where you're literally not thinking about anything else. You're just focused on being in your beautiful surroundings, God's beauty, your physical and mental, spiritual, all of that is tested. So I just absolutely love it, and you get to disconnect from cell phones and TV, and
you're living in the moment.
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So Everest, obviously an extremely difficult climb, especially the way you did it. Now, for people who don't know the different approaches, there's the southern approach, which is the one that most people do.
Right.
You actually came from a different approach. You came from the north side, which is more challenging, right?
The summit is more challenging. You don't have to go through the ice fall, but on summit day, although it's shorter, it's a little more technical climbing. You have to go through the ladders and a lot of rocks. And going down, you kind of run the risk of exhaustion, running out of oxygen, which actually did happen to me. And we didn't have that long line going up, but going down through the ladders, it was pretty crazy. Yeah.
So, and I hate to ask sensitive questions, but in the same breath, I mean, I'm sure people want to know. I mean, there's a lot of people who die, every year ascending it, especially this year. Is that something you factor into this as you go up there, or are you just kind of a pure optimist and, hey, that's not going to happen to me? Or like, how much does that weigh on you as you're making this climb or as you're preparing for it?
I knew death is possible, but I wasn't ever really thinking about it. I did see all my friends and family before I went, just in case something happened, but that was never my focus. When we were climbing, we did come across dead bodies that have been left, and the first one was kind of like laid out, and I was just like, oh, I just wish I hadn't seen that. And immediately you just start praying for their families and pray for their friends of people that haven't made it home. And then a little for yourself that you do get to make it down safely. That's really the harder part. Getting up there, you've got your adrenaline and you're so excited, and then you get up there and it's like, oh, I have to get down now, and you have to go from the summit all the way back down to Camp 2. That's the goal.
So how long you came from the China side as opposed to the Nepal side? Is that right?
Yes. Okay. So I went from Tibet. So we flew into Tibet, and then we drive over a couple days to acclimate, because we landed around 10,000 feet, and then we drive into base camp, and you are at 17,000 feet then, and that kind of becomes your home away from home for the next 2 months. So
wow.
It's pretty high altitude.
So you stayed in that area for how long?
So from base camp, we go up and down. We went 3 different times, and the trek from our base camp to advanced base camp is 13 miles. So we had to do that 3 times. It's just like a slug.
Yeah.
You're not really climbing at that point. It's more trekking, and it's just long. 13 miles at 17 to 20,000 feet with no oxygen is just it's a very long hike.
So you can see where Son is going down. I went down and then went up and climbed that mountain right there until the Sherpas came and found me and told me I was going the wrong way. Now I've climbed an extra mountain for nothing, and I'm exhausted. I have so much further to go.
Pretty much I was with my Sherpa Karma the entire time. You really don't get assigned your Sherpa until right before your final push, but Karma was with me just by chance on basically all of our big climbs. There's one point, the second time we go up to advanced base camp, the Sherpas stay and we come down back to regular base camp, and the Sherpas go up and down, setting tents, oxygen, so that when we go up, it's kind of there. So this year was a weird year because the Chinese rope fixing teams didn't make it past Camp 1 until around May 20th, right before we summited. So even our Sherpas, no one could go above Camp 1. So it was, that kind of created a lot of those lines that you saw because we literally only had 1 or 2 summit windows. Whereas most years there's usually at least a couple of days options, you know, so this year was a little different.
Yeah, and you hear about obviously the deaths, you know, that happen in any year, but especially this year. What about, was there a noticeable amount of things left behind, garbage, et cetera? Is that becoming an issue, or is that kind of, you know?
Well, on the Chinese side regulate a lot more than the Nepal side, and I think Nepal might be changing their permits and that kind of stuff in the next couple of years, because China regulates number of permits. They're huge on trash. So really at Camp 3, the high camp, you kind of notice more like oxygen tanks or tent that was destroyed, or, you know, that kind of stuff. But it's not just like what people think, like tons of trash everywhere. I mean, when I climbed Kilimanjaro, around every rock was like toilet paper and like, you know, just trash.
Because there's nobody
but
taking
no
it
one
back
really,
out.
yeah. And at Aconcagua, they actually weigh your waste coming down because they're very conscious about, you know, nothing left.
Wow.
Leave no trace.
Tell me about the day, you know, that you're going to actually make the summit. Yeah.
So we start at base camp, and we did all of our oxygen training on the oxygen masks. We haven't used oxygen at this point, and kind of get excited. It's gonna happen. I think I called my dad before, and he emailed me. I was like, "You sound a little scared, but you are about to do something really incredible, so it's okay to be a little, you know, scared." I didn't feel like I was scared, but I guess he
could pick it up from the voice. Yeah, right. And so you're calling on a satellite phone, obviously.
So we had cell service at base camp.
I guess you're
at
up
base
there.
camp, I had better service than I do on 38. That was great. But then once you pass base camp, I had no service until Camp 2. So anyway, you get ready and you do the 13-mile climb. That takes 2 days. You stop in an interim camp. It literally, you get there, you get in your tent, you go to sleep, you eat, you get back up.
Okay.
Then you go back to advanced base camp, we spend the night there. Then we climbed up to Camp 1, spend the night there. Then we climbed to Camp 2, spend the night there. And then you start your big push.
We're back in our snow globe. It's already snowing in the tent. I'm tired, really tired. Dolores is sleeping with oxygen. And I'm gonna start my oxygen use tomorrow, which will be amazing. I can't wait. I hope it gives me some energy. Right now, I'm leaned up against a backpack and a rock. It's not that comfortable.
I can't even get a pillow, Chris.
Yeah, we can't get comfy. And you can see here our tent. Yep, it's snowing in the tent. And tomorrow, we get to sleep 3 people in a tent. Won't that be lovely? 2 Sherpas, or Sherpa and us. So, oh no, I'm falling. Oh gosh.
How did you put it?
She's rearranging, which is making my pile fall down.
I'm falling.
Anyways, sweet dreams from Camp 1 of Everest. Jesus, please give us supernatural strength to finish the next 3 days. Ta-ding!
As soon as you run out of oxygen, the problem is only going to get bigger quickly. About 50% of the people who take longer than 12 hours, at least they get serious injury, frostbite injury. About 25% of those people actually die. So the 12-hour time is really important. Of course, if you're on the summit ridge and you see the prayer flags, you continue. It's not an exact science, because that's only 30 minutes more. But usually people who take 12 hours, they're nowhere close to the summit. They're not even on the traverse, you know. There's a problem. That's why it takes so long. Because if there wasn't a problem, you would be there in 8 hours, you know. Keep that in mind and be very strict to yourself, because people really die. People die easily who cross that time. You cannot sustain on altitude that long. Nobody. Nothing to do with fitness. It's genetically impossible. We're not made for those altitudes. So once you cross the line, it becomes extremely dangerous very fast. Just remember that. Before those 12 hours, nothing to worry about. Enjoy. After those 12 hours, please go down.
So from Camp 2, you climb to Camp 3. At Camp 3, you get in your tent, you try to eat, take a little nap. And I didn't sleep at all, but then my Sherpa had decided, since there were going to be so many people summiting, we would leave at night. So we left at around 7:30, 8 p.m. We climbed all through the night, and you could see like the line of headlights just kind of in front of you going in, yeah. And I'm appreciating now the fact that we did go at night, because we avoided the lines, and because I think I would have been scared out of my mind to see how exposed we were. Because coming down, I didn't feel like, oh, I'm gonna die or anything like that, but I think my fight or flight response kicked in, because I mean, my heart was racing. You feel like you're just like gonna pee your pants, you're so scared, but I didn't like feel scared, but my body was like, you shouldn't be scared. Like, you could die. So on that final push, we were climbing for around 37, 38 hours. So you go up to Camp 2, then we climbed through the night, summited around 6 a.m. Sun was rising, it was pretty spectacular, and then you get down.
Oh, Mama, I was just coming. Good. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Woo, Carly. Now let's get down.
The summit to Camp 3, when we were going through those ladders I was talking about earlier that are really technical, and they're like vertical, so you can't really see like what you're doing, and you're hooked in, but it's still pretty scary. And I get down and we're going up to the second step, and I just started feeling so weird, and we passed the girl that was in our team, and she was like, "Yay, Mama, you summited, you did it!" And it was like I was a zombie. I could hear what she was saying. It's coming to my ear, but it was just like going out. And I was just like, ugh. And I sat down, I told Karma, my Sherpa, I was like, I sit down loosely, like I lean against her wall. But I was like, Karma, something's not right. Like I can't keep my eyes open, I can't stay awake. And he checked my oxygen tank, and he was like, "Oh, Momo, you have no oxygen." And I was like, "Oh,
you might want
okay, great." So I don't know what he did, but I sat there for about 10 minutes, and I guess he had found another Sherpa that had an extra bottle that had been used for someone to sleep or maybe to sit, and there was a little oxygen left. So they switched my oxygen tanks, and from that point on, I was climbing at like 1 liter of oxygen, where I had been climbing on 3 to 4 liters. So getting back down to Camp 3, where there was more oxygen, was, I just felt like very strange. So, but I made it down, and I was seeing my Jesus loves me, and just trusting Karma and God.
Literally trusting Karma.
Yeah. Yes, Karma. And we got to Camp 3, and I got a new bottle of oxygen, and I was expecting to be like, oh, I feel great. But no, that didn't happen. It's just, you're just exhausted. And, I've done Ironmans and, long bikes and marathons, and I did Everest 37 hours on way less water and food than I would ever do in a.
So I'm thinking that if you're gonna have a Sherpa, you want one named Karma, and I think that that's probably a good omen. That said, tell me about Karma, and how did you guys interact on a daily basis, and sort of how many times has he been to the summit?
Sure. Karma, this was his 12th summit.
Wow.
And Karma was the head of all the Sherpas, so he's kind of like the Sherpa boss.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't actually know if he would be summiting this trip. And we kind of bonded throughout other climbs, and he was always just taking care of me and making sure I was okay. And he's just an amazing person. He can speak English, you know, but not like we're sitting here chatting, you know.
Right.
And he's very professional. He had other job to do, like leading all the other Sherpas and making sure everyone on the whole team was basically okay. So I didn't know for sure if he'd be able to go up with me. And then the day before we started our final summit push, I told Arnold, our guide, I really, really want Karma to be with me. And so he was giving out, he basically linking all the Sherpas with their clients. And he said everyone but me, and I was like, hello. And he's like, oh yeah, one more. And then he told me I was going to get to be with Karma. So I was so excited. I think there's actually a video of me in my tent. Like, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus.
I'm about to cry. Crying really have tears. So I didn't know for sure 100% if Karma was going to be my Sherpa with me to the summit, but I just wanted to kiss. I'm crying. I'm so excited. He's like amazing. And so I can't wait.
I mean, I had honestly prayed for my Sherpa before I even went on the trip, just that he would just be strong and kind, and I got Karma.
Obviously, you have good karma on your side. So.
Answer prayer.
So tell me, I know that you mentioned that you're eating a very different kind of diet. However, there was a photo that we'll put up that showed a lot of beer and a spread. What is that?
So those are Russians.
Well, there you go.
The Russians have a huge dome tent that has a full bar. It's free and available to any and all climbers. So, of course, our camp was right next to the Russians, so I made very good friends with them. They have amazing facilities. And so we did have a lot of fun over there. There was a lot of waiting this year. We couldn't go past Camp 1. So the bar at 17,000 feet, I think, is probably the highest bar in the world.
Wow.
We spent a lot of time there. One night we were there, and the Russian team was actually climbing. So it was just all the Sherpas. And I got to see some of their local dancing and local food. So that was cool. And then the Russians were celebrating a Russian holiday, maybe their Independence Day, I don't know, something like this. So they had a huge spread of food, and that was like the first time I had meat, like real meat. It was amazing.
Wow.
And that was really awesome. And one of the things about climbing that's so amazing is getting to meet so many incredible people. From all over the world. So.
And then when they leave, they go back to their respective places on the planet, and you're forever. And especially in this day of social media, you're able to stay in touch with them, and that's super cool.
It's really cool.
And did you make any connections that you expect to be able to rekindle at some point? Did you meet certain people who you're like, I'm going to travel with that person again?
Yeah, absolutely. So Karma, my Sherpa, I think I'll definitely do another mountain with him in the Himalayas. I will trust him with my life. So Avid is a mountain I'd love to do in the Himalayas. And then my tent mate on the higher camps, Dolores, she was the first Jordanian woman to ever summit Everest, which is an amazing accomplishment for her. But she lives in Dubai, and we've stayed in touch, and I'll definitely see her again, and maybe even climb with her again. I was very happy with my guide, Arnold Koster. He was great. So I think I'll definitely be back to the Himalayas.
Wow, and you'll bring your Russian friends.
Yes. Helena.
If nothing else.
Yes, Helena, our sweet bartender, her dad runs the Seven Summits Club and from Russia. So she comes and does the bar and kind of manages the base camp, and she's amazing.
You obviously have a limited amount of space. You have a limited weight restrictions and things you can take, and yet you take, I think, a photo of your family, and you also, for reasons that I would love to ask you about, you take a 30A sticker to the summit, to the highest point on the planet Earth.
I had to represent.
I know, but wow, what an honor. I mean, so what did you take with you? I mean, personal items, because I know you've obviously got your equipment, but what did you take?
To the summit, I had a small cross that a lady from church had given to me. I had a picture of my family, a picture of the 30A sticker, and a picture of me and my fiance. Other than that, I had nothing personal on me.
Wow.
I barely had food. So,
well, we're honored, number one. So you come back down, and then there's the re-entry. Okay, and so the re-entry not only takes time physically, but mentally. And we saw you at your welcome home party. But now you're 3 months later, kind of looking back on it. I mean, do you? Is it one and done kind of type thing that's like checked off list, done? Because some people do have an inclination to keep going back over and over and over. Or is it something that you think at some point in your life you'll do again, or is this it?
So initially, don't tell my fiance. I was like, I'm not gonna top secret. I was like, I'll never do this again. This was too long. It was really long and hard being away from my family and fiance, everyone. But I mean, maybe I would want to do the South Side. I don't know. I'm thinking about it, but I definitely want to finish the 7 summits. I've done the 2 hardest ones. Denali is pretty hard. Also, the weather can be really challenging. So. But it's not the length of time that you know the commitment to Everest is. So
which ones do you have? Which ones do you have left?
So I have Everest in Russia, Denali here in Alaska, Vinson in Antarctica, which is so expensive. So that might be a hard one. And then Carson's in Australia. So
wow. Well, and so then you come down, you get reacclimatized, and then you meet your father in Beijing.
Yes.
Yeah, and so tell me what that was like.
It was amazing. So I was so fortunate. My dad was traveling in China on my way there and on my way home. So to see my dad was like, just felt familiar, and he's also the most amazing man in the world.
Well, I think he's got a daughter he's trying to keep up with, frankly.
So we had a good time. We got to have some drinks and some regular food. And so that was so nice.
And do you keep a blog or anything that people can tune into? We're going to be showing some photos, of course.
No, I have my Instagram that has some pictures and videos. And then I kept like a journal the whole trip, not anything extreme, but at some point when I get I'm planning a wedding, so if we finish that, and I moved after we got home, so after I get my life kind of straightened out and make time, I really need to put it together.
Yes, you do. You need to write a book and a story and all that good stuff. Well, we're honored that you would take time to spend with us, and also extremely honored that you would represent the 30A brand on your big adventure. And congratulations on becoming the highest 30A fan on the planet Earth. So, guys, this is Mary Morgan Holotik, and she's got 3 down and 4 to go. Is that right?
Yeah.
And we really appreciate it. Congratulations, and best of luck on your future adventures. Thank you.